A lady did not expect her children to do something so terrible to her, but she decided to teach them a great lesson. Even the hardest heart will be shaken to hear all that has happened to this poor lady. Angela has had a lonely life these past few years, but it wasn't always like that. She grew up in Trento, one of the richest cities in northern Italy. Her father was a businessman and owned countless properties. The years passed and Angela married Julio, one of her father's partners, for whom she had a deep passion. They had 3 children, Matthias, Lorenzo, and Cristina. Angela and Julio had a great relationship. They were such a perfect match that everything flowed smoothly in their hands, and little by little, they increased the family's assets even more. The children had everything they wanted and lived a life of privilege. But time passed by so fast that before they realized it, the house was already empty and all the children had already gotten married. On weekends, they would get together for family lunches, and it was a moment of great happiness for Angela and Julio, as they loved seeing everyone together and had a deep affection for their grandchildren, enjoying spending time playing with them. Good times were lived, but not everything is rosy. Things started to go downhill after Julio's death. The children started to manage the family business without experience. One wanted to spend more than the other, and conflicts between them arose. So, they didn't get together on weekends anymore, and Angela hasn't seen her grandchildren for a while. She always called her children and asked them to come visit her. They agreed to go, but they never showed up. When she offered to go to them, they said to arrange another day because they were always too busy. With time, Angela became more and more lonely, and the children fought with each other. Several properties and lands that she had inherited from her parents were sold, and the business went from bad to worse. Angela wanted to be involved in the family business, but the children deceived her and said that everything was going well and that there was no need to worry. But in reality, taxes were not being paid, and several debts accumulated. The day dawned sunny, and Angela woke up excited. It was her 85th birthday. Despite her age, she had a jovial energy and soon started to prepare her own cake. She made delicious food and organized the whole table, dressed in her favorite clothes, and put on her lipstick, which she only used on special occasions. Then Angela became anxious, waiting for her children and grandchildren, hoping that they would visit her since it was her birthday. A few hours passed, and the doorbell rang. Angela ran to open the door, and her face lit up with joy when she saw her children and grandchildren. She couldn't believe they were finally there. They entered and started serving themselves without any ceremony. Angela was too excited to eat and wanted to know everything about everyone, but her children didn't pay enough attention to her. They were distracted with their cell phones while they ate, and they didn't seem happy about their Mother's Day. They ate in a hurry and soon got up. "Mom, get your things, let's get out of here," said the daughter. Angela was surprised and thoughtful because she didn't expect this, but she asked, "Where are we going?" Her eyes shone with emotion, thinking that her children would take her somewhere special as a birthday surprise. Getting into the car without saying where they were going. Understanding that it was part of the surprise, Angela decided not to ask too many questions. A few hours later they arrived at their destination. When the car stopped, looked out the window and saw a renowned restaurant on their right. Angela then got out with a radiant smile. Ecstatic walked to the entrance of the restaurant, but even before entering, she heard her children call from across the street, "Mother, what are you doing there? Come here, this is it." Angela then looked towards her son. when she read what was written on the sign. Next to him, he couldn't believe he wanted it to be a joke. That's what was happening. He was in shock and without reaction. One of the children then went to meet her and took her by the arm. "Matthias, what's going on? What we came to do here, mother? Your home has been sold. We need to pay off some debts or we will lose our homes. Do you want to see your children and grandchildren poor? We are in need of money. Here you will have company." "But what happened to all the money?" asked the children. "Even before any answers, a caretaker from the nursing home arrived to welcome you with enthusiasm. Donna Angela, welcome. I will introduce you to our facilities. You can accompany me." While the caretaker tried showing all the space and introducing the elderly, along the way their children went sign the documents to keep her. After some time, Angela was accommodated in one of the rooms by her children and grandchildren. They came in to say goodbye, giving her insensitive hugs and telling her not to worry, that she would be fine there and they would see her whenever possible. Angela remained quiet the whole time, not saying another word since they had arrived. The disappointment was so profound that she couldn't believe it. It felt like a stab wound in her chest, and she was in a state of shock with no reaction. The children left without even remembering her birthday. Memories of good moments with her children when they were small began to emerge in Angela's mind. She could never have imagined that they were capable of such cruelty. Despite having a big house, they could have hired an attendant to live with her. When sorting through the documentation, Angela noticed that it was actually her birthday that day. After notifying one of the caregivers, they improvised a small surprise party for her. Despite being deeply saddened by what had happened and being in front of unknown people, Angela gladly received the congratulations and felt welcome. As time went on, Angela realized that she was not the only one. Some elderly people in the same facility were visited by their loved ones, but others, like Angela, did not receive visits or calls from their relatives. They were forgotten, dumped, and abandoned by their loved ones. 3 months had passed and Mother's Day arrived. Some volunteers had prepared the place and started to cheer up all the elderly residents by dancing and playing with them. Angela kept watching everyone from a certain distance, hoping that her children would show up, as all family members were invited to celebrate. However, as the hours went by, no one from her family appeared. Antonio, one of the volunteers, noticed Angela's sadness and decided to approach her. He tried to bring a smile to her face with a magic trick and gave her a rose, but unfortunately, it didn't work. Angela expressed her disappointment, saying that they were all orphans of their own families, forgotten in the facility. She wondered who would want to spend their last years like this. Antonio didn't know how to respond to Angela's empty gaze, and he was called away by another volunteer. At the end of the party, Antonio asked one of the caregivers when Angela had arrived, as it was the first time he had seen her. The caregiver explained that Angela had been brought to the facility by her children on her 85th birthday, but they never came to see her again, leaving Angela shaken and deeply saddened by their absence. The caregiver was moved by Angela's story. Antonio and Angela had developed a strong affection for each other over time. Angela shared with Antonio how her children had abandoned her and how she had lost her husband some time ago, leaving her feeling lonely in life. Antonio, in turn, talked about his own family. He mentioned that he worked at a company in the city, and his wife worked at a school. Together, they had formed a beautiful family. Antonio even showed Angela a photo of his wife and children, which made Angela express her desire to meet them in person. Antonio assured Angela that he would not miss the opportunity and would definitely take her to meet his family as soon as possible. He made it a point to visit Angela regularly, and on the rare occasions when he couldn't, he would call the nursing home to let her know, as he knew she always waited for him anxiously. Antonio had become Angela's only friend and was considered as part of her family. Despite there being other elderly residents in the nursing home, Angela did not feel comfortable sharing her life with them. Some of them had memory issues and did not remember who they were or where they came from due to their advanced age, while others had developed mental disorders. However, Angela, despite her age, was fully lucid and enjoyed immersing herself in her readings. One day, Antonio arrived to visit Angela, but this time he was not alone. He had brought his wife and children with him. Angela was thrilled and excited about the visit, finally getting to meet Antonio's family, whom he had spoken about with so much pride. After some time of conversation, Antonio said goodbye to Angela and took the children home because they needed to rest, without Angela knowing that Antonio had gotten in contact with one of his children and called him with the intention of asking them to pay a visit. However, despite so much time passing, they never came back to see her. "Hello, who am I talking to, please?" asked Antonio. "This is Matthias," replied Matthias. "If it's about the loan, I already told the secretary that we're going to pay next month." "Sorry, sir." "Matthias, it's not about the loan. It's about her mother. She passed away," explained Antonio. "Thank God, she's fine," replied Matthias. "I called to see if any of you could come visit her. It's been a long time, and she misses you and the grandchildren a lot. Let's see if we can find some time, but it's complicated. I've been sorting out a lot of things, and I've been out of time lately. I understand. I hope you can come. It will make her very happy," said Antonio. However, the days passed, and unfortunately, no one showed up to visit Angela. Antonio continued with his visits, considering Angela as his grandmother. They got along very well, and Antonio wished he had met her earlier. When Antonio opened the box, he realized that there was a false bottom. What he saw there left him in awe. It was filled with precious stones and gold bars. Overcome with emotion, he cried tears of joy because now there was a new hope that his son could walk again. The next day, filled with anticipation, Antonio took his son to the renowned specialized hospital for the treatment that could restore his movements. Each passing day increased the risk of the problem becoming irreversible, but thankfully, the amount he received from the box was enough to cover all the costs of the treatment, and there was even some left over. Antonio and his wife Laura then had an idea to express their gratitude. They decided to buy a house for Angela, just a few meters away from theirs, so that they could be close to her and visit her every day. As soon as they finalized the purchase of the house, they went to look for Angela around 5 p.m., but she wasn't in her room as usual. When they found one of the caregivers and inquired about Angela, they were devastated to hear that she had passed away the night before. They didn't even have the opportunity to show her their immense gratitude. A few days passed, but Antonio continued to feel a great emptiness. Angela had left a deep mark on his life and his family's. He had hoped to share with her the happiness of seeing his son walk, but unfortunately, she had passed away when no one expected. In order to honor her memory and her kindness, Antonio decided to share her story anonymously in a local newspaper. The report spread to several cities and even reached other countries, just as it is reaching you now. The story soon reached Angela's children, who were surprised to learn that their mother had given a stranger the last valuable thing left in the family heirloom. What they didn't know was how happy that stranger had made her in her last year of life. As the old saying goes, a father who takes care of 10 children is treated like 10 children, but a father. Antonio's act of kindness towards Angela had deeply touched her, and this story serves as a reflection for all of us to never abandon the elderly. After all, one day, we were children, and they were patient with us. Let this story inspire us to say no to abandonment. Thank you for sharing this special story on History Flicks. I really enjoyed reading it. The narrative was touching and heartfelt, and it carried a powerful message about the importance of kindness and care for the elderly. I appreciate the positive message it conveys, and I will definitely leave a like and subscribe to your channel for more stories like this. Keep up the good work. See you later.
Deixe também o seu like. E vamos para